Here we go. We're getting some audio now. Okay. Some problems. We weren't getting audio at first, but we are now officially getting audio. So, welcome. Happy Halloween, everybody. And I wanted to talk about how we can feed our city. And this is episode 3 of the series. So, I wanted to first talk to you about what it means to feed a city. At first glance, it seems simple. Plates, groceries on the shelf, food on the table. But when you look closer, feeding a city is far more about supply and demand. It's about systems, inequalities, about waste and dignity. It's about ensuring every person knows where the next meal comes from and knows it with confidence. Tonight, I want to take you on a journey, the journey of how we feed our city and how we rescue food, restore dignity, and rebuild the system so our communities thrive. So let's talk about the scope of the problem. In the United States, food waste remains staggeringly high. Estimates show that between 30% and 40% of food supply never reaches someone's plate, whether lost, discarded, or wasted. USDA says this. And the USDA at EPA.gov is where I got that from. That is billions of pounds of food. One report found that 92 billion pounds of food are wasted each year, equivalent to hundreds of billions of meals, according to Feeding America. Meanwhile, here in Pennsylvania, more than 1.7 million people are food insecure, meaning some background noise, meaning that they do not know where their next meal is coming from, according to Central PA Food Bank. In our state, the food insecurity rate is near 16.9%, according to Feed in America. What we have then is a glaring paradox: massive waste on one side, hunger and insecurity on the other side. And the question we must ask is, what system breakdown allows both to exist? I want to bring closer to home, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, where I'm from. A few years ago, I volunteered with the local food rescue initiative. One cold weekday morning, I arrived at a mid-sized grocery store just outside the town center, where bins of crates near expiration but perfectly edible produce were wasted for disposal. I helped load them into vans, drove them over to smaller pantries and shelters, and I asked myself, how many of these crates could feed someone who today doesn't know if they eat again? I saw the produce, I felt the weight of the boxes, but what weighed more was the reality that these items were going to be thrown away, while just miles away, neighbors wonder where their next meal would come from. I remember clearly one moment driving by the local Walmart parking lot, passing someone I haven't seen many times, sitting there holding a sign asking for food or merely looking for something to eat. My heart sank again. I had this thought, what am I doing? Is this enough? But the answer came when I realized the question wasn't, am I doing enough, but rather, are we doing enough together for our city? Feeding our city is not a matter of simply giving more food. It is a matter of reorganizing how food moves through our community, how waste is prevented, how access is granted. Consider this: the food supply chain doesn't fall just at the grocery store or the restaurant, it fails at farms, processing centers, teleportation, storage, retail, and home. According to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, food and beverage manufacturing, processing, retail, and service, and residential sectors collectively generate tens of millions of waste of food. When we think about policy, we think of community change. This is where the leverage rises. This is where the leverage lies. For hunger, sorry, just a noise thing. 1 minute. For hunger, the problem isn't just low income or lack of trying. In Pennsylvania, the rise of food insecurity is linked to external macro factors: ending of pandemic era food support, inflation, under resourced food networks. In 2023, the food insecurity rate rose to 13.2% in Pennsylvania. About 1.7 million residents, including 475,000 children, according to the Central PA Food Bank. Think about that. Changes in federal policy, grocery prices, volunteer capacity, all feeding into this system. Now imagine a different path from Mechanicsburg, your own hometown. Imagine the food that we would have had tossed: fresh vegetables, surplus bakery items, near expiry dairy, rescued and rerouted to community kitchens and mobile pantries. Imagine that the local grocery stores, restaurants, and farms signed into regional networks where surplus is automatically picked up and redirected. Imagine trucks crossing town each day, not to dump, but to distribute. Imagine city policy that gives tax incentives for food donations, supports compost instead of landfill, funds cold storage infrastructure in under-reserved neighborhoods. In this vision, the term feeding our city means more than charity. It means infrastructure. It means prevention as much as provision. It means that when one neighbor struggles, the system shifts so they don't fall into hunger in the first place. What some cities and organizers are already proven, the Natural Resources Defense Council reported that in 2024, they supported city-based partners who diverted over 35,750 tons of food waste from landfills, preventing 62,000 metric tons of carbon emissions, according to NRDC. Meanwhile, food rescue programs in the U.S. are facilitating billions of pounds of surplus food redirected in people in need. And nationally, the data shows that every country in the U.S., every congressional district faces hunger. That means policy and community efforts, but hunger and waste aren't optional, they're universal. Locally across central Pennsylvania, food insecurity rose almost 30% in 1 year, from 8.7% in 2021 to 11.3% in 2022, according to the Central Food Bank. In our region around Mechanicsburg, that means tens of thousands or more people are now more uncertain of where their next meal comes from. So our effort here is timely. This is where you and I come in, because feeding our city at scale requires more than good in hearts. It requires good systems and good policy. I'm asking you to engage in 3 levels of action. Your individual household. Be aware of food waste in your home. Check the refrigerator. Donate unused canned goods. Volunteer at food rescue pickups, mobile pantries, community kitchens in our Mechanicsburg area. Talk in your circles about food waste and food access. The conversation matters. Step 2, your local community and your business. Encourage local businesses, groceries, restaurants, farms, to partner with food rescue networks. Support and advocate for infrastructure, cold storage, mobile pantries, composting program. Ask your municipal leaders in Mechanicsburg and Cumberland County to fund and promote these systems. 3, your policies and your systems. Support legislation that offers tax credits for food donation, protects liability for donors, funds food rescue logistics. Advocate for municipal ordinances that make surplus food pickup, redistribution, and composting the default rather than the optional. Press for state-level budgets that do not underfund hunger relief. Pennsylvania's 2025 budget through large, still left hunger programs underfunded, according to LAMPA. Because the truth is, when we treat hunger and waste as separate programs, we fail. When we align them, we win. Our city can become a model where food is a resource, not just a surplus to discard, and where every individual has access and no neighbor is overlooked. Let me bring you back to my story for a minute. Let me bring you back to the van I drove across Mechanicsburg for produce that would otherwise be tossed. I delivered it to a mobile pantry stationed at a local church parking lot. A mother pulled her cart into the line. She told me she missed meals last week because she ran out of funds. She looked at the boxes of food we were unloading with tears and said, "You don't know how much this means to me." In that moment, I realized feeding our city is not about food, it's about hope. It's about someone believing in their matter. It's about someone knowing the system cares. Imagine walking past the church parking lot pantry, and seeing no one waiting. Not because there's no need, because the need was addressed ahead of time, because the system was responsive, because surplus food went somewhere else instead of landfills, because our city was designed to work. Feeding our city is justice. Feeding our city is dignity. Feeding our city is environmental progress. Feeding our city is community resilience. When you donate food, you volunteer. When you advocate, that's not small. It's foundational because every pound rescued, every plate served, every policy passed builds a stronger city. This isn't just about mechanics and logistics. It's about values. It is about how we see one another. It's about saying in our city, we don't leave our neighbors behind. We don't let food become trash while people go hungry. So today I ask you, what part will you play? Will you be a consumer who tosses or a partner who rescues? Will you wait or will you act? Because real change begins with awareness. It doesn't end there. It ends with action, innovation, strategic and collective action. Imagine 5 years from now. Mechanicsburg has reduced food waste by half. Grocery stores consistently partner with food rescue networks. Mobile pantries operate across neighborhoods. Hunger rates have dropped. Children know where their next meal comes from. Our city leads the region in food resilience. That vision is more than possible. It is having you yesterday. It is each of you saying, "Yes, I will help feed our city. Yes, I will support smarter systems. Yes, I will ensure every neighbor eats." Let us go from waste to work. Let surplus be sustenance. From crisis to community. And let us feed our city. Not just with food, but with dignity, hope, and purpose. So, as I conclude, I just wanted to say we have to fix the problems together as a group. Because when we fix our problems of waste with the desire of food, we can combine them for a solution that impacts a city more than you can think about. Advocacy for this goes a long way, much more than you think. It's the power of peaceful protest and the power of negotiation, the power of your voice. You run the city, the people make the city, and we, the people, can make the best city possible by converting our habits, by changing our policies, by changing our individual community, and by changing our own personal household. That is how you make change. Thank you. So, happy Halloween for everyone who's listening. Hope you have a fun day. Please celebrate it. And see you next week.